Hello, and welcome to the Consider Your Mind podcast. I'm your host, Eric King, and along with my co-host, Mino Pachan, we're here to talk about all things mental health. Let's get into it. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Consider Your Mind podcast. I'm your host, Eric King. Thank you all for joining us again. My co-host, Mino Pachan, won't be joining us once again, man. Please keep him in your prayers and your thoughts as he's going through his, health things. And so keep him in your prayers. And as soon as he's well enough to get back, he's going to be back with us, man. So shout out to my boy, first and foremost. But we have a special guest today. Don't worry, people. You won't have to listen to my, dry self-talk, for like 20, 30, 40 minutes. No. I have a very special guest, my very own Roseville Raider, class of 2006 alum, Emily Blake is joining me. How you doing, Emily?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. It's so good to see you, man.
It's so good. Yeah.
This has been a long time. Okay. I've known Emily since we go back to middle school, man. So
we started back to elementary school.
Brimhall.
Right?
See, there you go, man. Emily Hoffmeister and Eric Mosley. There we go. Yes. Back when we didn't even have the same names. Okay. Yeah. So back to Brimhall Elementary, man. So we've come a long way since the 90s, folks. That was a long time ago. Back when you had to have your people's, house phone numbers. That's how you know we got real friends. If I have your mama's number, we go back. So thanks so much for joining me here today. Again, diversify the show and bring a lot of different perspectives. And so it's so great when we can have a lady on. We've had a few ladies on, Leela T, shout out to her. We Mrs. Moore. She came on here, Alicia Moore. And, now we have Emily Blake joining us. And it's for a very special subject, a very special show, and something that I probably wouldn't be comfortable doing, without a lady on the show. So we're going to talk about the subject of, postpartum depression and anxiety. And I guess you can kind of take it away. What made you reach out, to the Consider Your Mind podcast to even want to broach this subject?
Yeah, thanks for having me, by the way. And I've been listening to your podcast, and I just think it's amazing what you guys are doing. It's awesome that I have a connection to you, and I know, it's like, hey, this guy, I know him. We go back way back, and you're doing this amazing podcast for mental health and making it feel like it's not, just a scary thing or just this. Like
try to normalize it.
Yes, exactly. It's so what I can tell you a little bit about my background.
Yeah, what you've been up to since middle school, since high school. It's been a while, man. 06, like I said, Roseville Raiders, man. 06.
Too many years ago.
Oh my God, how old are we, man?
Yeah. It's crazy to think like high school when we graduated from college, like 10 years now. Like it's it's a long time. I don't feel that old, but I think but we are. As the first time I realized there was something going on was actually high school. I think senior year. After I came back from spring break, I started having like these chest pains during school, and I thought I was having a heart attack. I would go to them. I think I went to the nurse like a few days, and then I went to the doctor. And I remember my dad bringing me to the doctor. I don't know why it was my dad, but he did. And the doctor basically said, "You're not having a heart attack. You are having panic attacks."
Okay, panic attacks.
So I was struggling with anxiety, and I didn't know what it was. I wasn't informed about it. And so as soon as he told me that, I felt fine. Like it's such a mental, your mind is such a crazy thing in your life. Like
it's powerful, man. It's a powerful thing.
Just crazy what your mind can do to your whole body and your physical, your feelings, the way your body feels and everything.
And so you think since he put a name to it, the way you're feeling, that just made you feel better automatically because you had a label you didn't. Okay.
Yeah. So like starting with anxiety, anxiety, if anybody has not gone through it before, it is awful. Like having an anxiety attack, it is like mind starts to build, and then it makes it worse. So my mind just keeps going like, okay, well, I'm having a heart attack. Oh no, I'm having a heart attack. I'm too young to have a heart attack. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
like it keeps going. Well, what
Mhm,
will happen? Like people will look at me if I'm freaking out. It just keeps
mhm.
growing and growing and growing. And so, obviously I was in school, in high school, and you don't want people to think you're crazy.
No, that's
Uh,
not cool. That is
no.
uncool. Yeah.
So I, yeah, I think I just then I became anxious about going to school and having this feeling again. And it was, yeah, it,
Hmm.
it, with little information and not knowing much about it, I feel like it's changing,
Hmm.
uh, and getting better. But back then, how old we
Yeah.
are.
Back then, yeah, health class, it didn't really cover that. Health class were
Oh,
teaching us about, things,
right.
all that stuff they were required, the birds and the bees and the apples and the trees,
Yeah.
taking care of ourselves. But in terms of our mental health, it really never was this thing. The closest it came was again, suicide prevention. That
Yeah.
was a thing, when we were coming up. But again, they didn't give much background on it. We didn't have words like depression, anxiety, OCD or anything like that. Schizophrenia. We weren't hearing those words again to put a label to it to maybe even give us a sense of calm. Okay, this is what's going on with me. Instead of thinking again, you're crazy, which is again, it's debilitating. That's a bad feeling to have. And when you're already a kid, you're just trying to get by, man. You're a teenager. You're just trying to figure this stuff out. I was trying to, figure out where I was going to go to college. I was worried about, next
Yeah.
track meet, football game. I was trying to just do regular stuff. And the last thing on my mind was mental health. And while we were going through these things, how did you feel like it manifested since you didn't, obviously know anything about any medication for it? None of that. You just had a label for it. What are
Yeah.
some of the ways that you felt like it kind of infected you, in school and, going
Sure.
forward?
Yeah. Well, I remember specifically, like, a lot of looking back on it, it was pretty ridiculous how I was living my life.
Hmm.
Like I felt like I was afraid to eat. I I don't know
Really?
why. I was afraid to eat lunch, like what I was gonna bring. I was always afraid of what people were thinking of me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know if that's just other like problems. I don't know, but I remember, like, I don't know how I played sports because you go right from
Mm-hmm.
school to
Straight,
practice.
straight to practice. You don't even leave
Yep.
straight to the locker room. You don't leave the building. You go straight to the locker room. Yeah, we had a
And I
routine.
barely remember like drinking water throughout the day. And like
Mm.
it's like I just don't. It's like, yeah, well, if I drink water, I'm gonna have to miss class because I'm gonna have to go to the bathroom. It's just like these dumb thoughts that I remember now thinking, like,
Mm-hmm.
as a teenager, like, why was I so worried about that? Like
And everything was such a big deal back then. And it was
right,
one of those
right,
things of, when they say, if you could talk to your younger self, what would you say? I would tell them, man, these things that you think are so important, even the people, whatever,
yeah,
barely even going to remember them later. Like, I
right,
promise you, it's not going to be
right.
whatever you
No,
think. It's not as big of a deal as you think it's going to be. It's massive right now. But again, you can't
it's
tell a 15, 16, 17-year-old that.
it's so hard when you're in it. It is so hard. I don't know if I would go back to high school years. I just don't
Oh,
know.
wow, that's deep, man. You know what? That's interesting because I never would have guessed it. And again, because again, Emily Hoffmeister never heard anything bad. You feel what I'm saying? I got in more
Yeah,
trouble than she did. Like nobody got,
yeah,
you would
yeah.
never, think anything was wrong. Had relationships. I think that's again when you and Tommy started dating was back in, high school. So outside looking in, playing sports, having
Mhm.
relationships, look like you have a friend circle. Who's noticing, oh, somebody eating or not, drinking water, how good
Right.
we're actually taking care of ourselves. And particularly at that age, you felt like we were bulletproof, man. We barely needed to sleep.
Mhm.
At 16, 17, we could do that stuff. But now,
Right.
again, looking back on it, what? You're like, oh my goodness, I probably took years
Yeah.
off my life.
I mean, if I didn't drink water all day now, I would pass out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, looking back on way back then, it all kind of started there. I did try medicine, I went to some counseling,
Okay.
and I feel like you don't, as a kid, you kind of just, you don't
Hmm.
know, you're not really in it like you are now. Like
Yeah,
it,
you're not invested in your health. Yeah, you're not taking
right.
everything
Like I
seriously
just
like
want to
that.
go, I just don't want to go play sports.
Hmm.
I just want to leave here. Your mom is bringing you, your dad is bringing you,
Yeah,
like
yeah. You
it's
get
not
into
like,
a routine. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So
So
So afterwards, so after we, graduate high school, hey, throw it up, '06. That was fun, man. Even the senior party that night, the lock-in thing, that was fun,
Yeah.
actually. Had a good
Yeah.
time. So got a couple pictures from that, actually.
Yeah.
But hey, we go off to college. Where'd you go to school? And like, did you see any like resources that your school like provided or anything like that
Sure.
once you went off to college? Where'd you go?
I went to the U of M.
U of M. Okay,
University of
Gophers.
Minnesota. Go
Nice.
Gophers.
Yeah, man.
So I stuck around. I lived at home.
Oh, okay.
I didn't really, my mom and dad, I think, are kind of, like shelter, like they didn't really like force me to go look at other colleges, so it was just kind of like,
They were fine. Again, Minnesota
yeah,
does that to you, man. My dad
yeah,
wanted me to stay home too, man. It's something about it.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I liked it there. It was way different from high school. You could just do whatever you wanted and there was no cliques, it was way too big. But no, I was a psychology major. I wanted to, going through all the anxiety and the mental health issues, I wanted to become a part of it somehow and help others. And so I never ended up, getting, a counselor's degree or psychologist degree or, but just learning more about it, everything just, was interesting.
Okay, so that kind of inspired you, knowing that you had anxiety or whatever, getting that diagnosis, that inspires you kind of to just research more into that side of
Yeah.
it. No, that's good, man. That kind of desire to help, man. So, I guess that kind of brings us up to like what the subject of the show, which is again, when you reached out to me, I was really very happy you did. I was like, great, somebody's watching the show. First off,
yeah, right.
I never know. Like, hey, man, we on a lot of different platforms, however you saw it. And then, specifically, you had a desire to talk about again postpartum, depression, anxiety, and that struck me because, again, being a new father, my son's just 4 months old, and it was something that people would tell me about. Again, I heard about it, kind of like you hear about depression, you hear about anxiety, you hear words, OCDs, kids, you hear these words. I heard about postpartum, but I honestly didn't know what that even meant. And it was just that the only advice I got was just be nice, be understanding. Whatever she's going through, just chalk it up to that. And I was just like, okay, sure. But so when you reached out to me about that, I definitely jumped at the opportunity. But kind of when did you start, like, I was out know when you started experiencing it. When you started having your first child, you have three girls, right? 8?
Yep.
It's the oldest?
3 girls, 8, 5, and 3.
Okay, exactly. So kind of fast forward to that, you get married, and you plan on having a family, and all of a sudden it's happening, and you think everything's going great. What's the point when you realize, hey, this thing had popped up in your life?
Sure, yeah. So 2014 was my first daughter. I gave birth to my first daughter, and I was 26, 25, maybe. I mean, I wasn't super old, I got married pretty young now for nowadays, I think we were 22, maybe 21,
straight
22.
Out of college, yeah.
Right after college. And I kind of felt like, oh, like, this is how it goes. Like, you go to college, you get married, then you have kids. Like,
with your college sweetheart, like, hey, looks perfect, right?
With my high school sweetheart.
Yeah, high school. There you go. All the way through. You're one of the ones that made it. You're the ones that people try to be like,
Yeah, well, so I mean, you just think it's going to come natural. You just think that's how it goes. It's just the next step. I nannied for a while. I didn't know what I wanted to do career-wise, and I thought, oh, like, I'll try this.
So you had a good love for kids, obviously.
Yeah. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and that's kind of just all I knew, I guess. Like, I didn't really have, like, I shouldn't say someone to look up to, but career-wise, like, that's just, so I just thought, oh, I would do that too. And having anxiety, it made me super anxious to think of sending my kid to like a daycare or whatever. And I never experienced going to a daycare. So I always had my mom. So, had my fast forward 2014, gave birth, and holy cow, like, they do not teach you in the birthing classes anything about recovery from giving birth.
Wow. Really? Wow. Okay. That's something, again, I would not have guessed. I thought that would be part part of it. But no, after it's happening, they got nothing for you.
Yeah. And I realized since then, I think I have like a little bit of health anxiety as well, like worrying about like, because I never had, I'm very blessed to not have a lot of health issues, till up until then was my first time ever being in a hospital.
Mhm.
So I think the whole ordeal was just, oh my, like I have to feed her, all these thoughts just went through. First of all, I'm exhausted from
Yes.
giving birth.
Yes.
And then you have to, I just remember after that, the thought of bringing her home made me super anxious. Like,
Okay.
not because I didn't think I could take care of her, but I was like, who is going to take care of me? Because
Mhm.
nobody really thinks about the mom when they come home. All they want to do is, hold that baby, meet the baby,
Mhm.
and now since when people have babies, I'm like, how are you doing? Like, how are you guys adjusting? Because I mean, a baby is a wonderful thing, but no, I don't think until you have one or go through it that you realize how it happens and what it takes. And
It's impossible. Again, it's like describing
oh
it to yourself when you're younger, talking until you go through
yeah,
it. There's no way. And I just think, having children is one of those events in life that just does change you. There's no way,
yes, yes.
you cannot be
You're
changed by it.
you're just exhausted. The first 2 weeks maybe are like just a blur.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I just remember on the way home in the car, I started bawling. Like I was anxious about having postpartum depression because I've heard of it.
Okay,
And I
you've
think
actually heard of it.
one of
Yeah.
my friends had it. And I think that was like my anxiety is like, I'm worried about something that hasn't even happened yet. And that's what anxiety does is like, just builds and builds. Well, what if I have this?
Mhm.
What will happen? I don't want to have this. And it's like
Yeah.
just ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't want to
So,
think about this. I don't want to think about this. I don't want to think about this. That's all I'm doing
right.
is thinking
Yeah.
about this,
Yeah. And then you don't want to talk about it because that's the other thing that went through my mind. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to tell anyone what I'm thinking because I honestly, like, I'm okay talking about it now because I know it's fine and I know it doesn't mean that I'm going to get my kid taken away. But I thought that's what it meant at the
Mm.
time, that because I just wanted to rest. I just wanted to sleep. I didn't want to have to feed my kid every 4 hours or whatever. Like, it was just so overwhelming to me, everything. Such a big life change. Um, and I remember thinking, I can't talk. I can't feel like this. Like, you're supposed to be happy. You're
Mm.
supposed to feel a certain way. And nobody ever said, oh, you might not feel that way,
Wow. Yeah,
and
there's no
that's
plan
okay.
B. Yeah, there's no
That's
plan B
okay.
really.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and now it's like, it is okay. It's not going to be like that forever.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's the one thing that I always have to tell people who are going through anxiety or depression is like, it will get better. It doesn't feel like
Mhm.
it now, but it's not forever. It
Mhm.
feels like it at the time. It does.
No,
Um,
there's so many things in life just like that where again we get there and we really think this is going to be it forever. Whether it be a job situation that's bad, relationship, whatever we're going through, or something we're going through health wise, we really you can get in your head that that's it, and that's where you kind of lose hope. You lose something. But the important thing is to remember that again, nothing lasts forever. Not even us. We don't even get to stay here forever. The
right.
only constant is change. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then on top of that, being just so sleep deprived, like I can
Mhm.
only tell you the ridiculous things I went through, So I was so anxious I couldn't sleep ever. I was worried about her not breathing. I was worried about, like like I look back on it and I'm like, I remember one instance this that sticks out is I had her in a pack and play in like a little bassinet, and she was in our room, and I would check her every like 5 minutes, like I could never sleep. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, and I would like, and no wonder why she wasn't sleeping because I wasn't sleeping. It's like,
Yeah, yeah. You ain't chilling. She ain't chilling. You anxious. She's anxious.
yeah, like she's probably like, go to bed so I can sleep. Why aren't you sleeping? So, so I remember I told Tom, I said, can you not put those blankets right next to her, you know, like the little like wraps or whatever, like the, you know, and like it was like on a changing table right next to her. And it wasn't anywhere near where she could like get smothered or anything. But I was like, I would just rather you not put it next to her. And he's like, well, what's going to happen? And I'm like, I don't know. What if it accidentally like covers your face or something? And he's like, what is a gust of wind going to come in? And like,
I can totally see his face looking at you like, and saying that, like, what?
And like, to me, I was like, I would just rather, it would make me feel better if you would just not put them there.
There you go. Just
But,
do this one for me. Do this for me, man.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
do this for me, man.
Yeah.
I got you. I got
So,
you. So no, that's wild, man. And I believe there's so many people that'll be able to relate. That's why I'm excited to have you on the show, because there's
right.
so many ladies right now listening to this and they're like, oh my God, that is so me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it's not anything to be like, I would say it's normal. It's normal things, adjustment. And yeah, it's not anything that you should be like worried about talking about. So.
Yep. On a previous episode, when we had James Jerry, a therapist, come on, he talked about, you know, these dragons we build in our minds. I talked about a little bit last podcast too. We create this thing in our mind. It's this insurmountable mythological beast that can breathe fire and, you know, fly and is impenetrable. This thing we can't defeat in our head. We're building that into this situation when at the end of the day, like what you're actually facing, the actual work of the actual parenting, the conversation, whatever you're going through, it's not that bad. Is what you've built it into. We've made it, you know, this major thing. And so then we approach it like that, you know,
Right.
and so, you know, we're not approaching things with the right, you know, mentality and attitude. So I'm curious to know, is that something that you went through all three of your children after, like, you know, specifically after you had, you know, gave birth, coming home? Like, was this something that
Yep.
was a pattern or?
Yep. So then fast forward, I would say I never talked about it with my first. I mean, I never sought help. I just kind of tried to live. Eventually, when I was too exhausted when I was just so anxious and I was so exhausted, I needed to sleep. I eventually just had to turn to God and literally like become like super into religion and trust in God, because I literally had to just sit there one night. I remember saying a prayer and saying like, God, please look out for her when I can't, like when I'm sleeping. Please watch over her when I'm sleeping, when I can't watch over her. And then I just like, that would make me feel like more at ease. Like, you know, like just, that was what made me finally be able to sleep, I guess. But that I still had the anxiety, you know, like not being able to eat, which then, you know, I don't know if, you know, if you guys were going through the breastfeeding thing, but for women who
she does
anxiety and they don't eat properly, you're not going to be able to breastfeed. So I struggled with that.
Latching and stuff. I know that can be a big thing.
Right. Well, any just producing milk, like you literally need to eat so much food as a woman, like to produce milk, because that's all the food that's not only for you, but for the baby. Whatever you're putting in your body still, like you think you're done after giving birth. Nope. Like if you're breastfeeding, you still need to provide the nutrients and the vitamins and all that. So that's another thing that was overwhelming. It was like, what? Like I didn't know any of this.
Need vitamins? What is this?
Yeah, right. Like you need to take vitamins, even this baby's not in me anymore. But yeah, so then fast forward, I didn't get help. I didn't do what I should have done. I regret it now, but at the same time, I learned a lot going through it. And so decided I'm ready. You know, it was 2 years. I think my first one turned 2, and I found out I was pregnant.
Okay.
It's our second. And so 2017, she was born, my second one. That's when I just kind of, the anxiety I could not handle, like having to take care of myself, having to take care of a toddler and a newborn. Luckily, my newborn this time slept amazing. breastfed amazing.
There you go.
But
Hey, all of them are different, but still,
yes,
that's a lot to do. And on top of that,
yeah,
you do have a husband, you had a whole family. You're trying to
right,
juggle like all these things, man. Raise
right. Like
kids.
your
And
relationship with your husband, like, you know, you it takes a toll on your marriage too. Like you're not in it anymore,
you
really.
tired.
Yeah,
You
don't have
tired.
time. Don't have time
Don't
for it.
have time. No, not at all.
So, so yeah, that's when I fell into a depression, um, because I was so overwhelmed, so anxious about everything. Um, and I just remember one day just feeling like I was not in my own body.
Mm,
Like just numb, just like I felt hazy. Um, I couldn't cry. That was a big, like I can't even cry. Like that scared me. Like
mm-hmm.
it was the worst thing I've ever felt, and I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. But I just remember, yeah, like I don't care about anything right now. Like I don't even want to hang out with my family. I don't care about anything. But then like I'm just walking around like I don't know, a cloud of gray. Like I don't even know. It just felt like I don't
Like
know. I can't
a
even.
Charlie Brown cartoon that like just
Yeah,
a cloud over your head, just gray cloud
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. It was awful. And like I think that's when I don't quite remember because feel like it's just so hazy and everything. But I must have been Googling late at night how to get help.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I turned and I found PPSM. It's Postpartum Support Minnesota,
Okay.
and their helpline.
Shout out to
Um,
PPSM. There we go.
yep, PPSM. Um, and that's the Minnesota group of Postpartum Support International. So that's the international group, but this is the Minnesota. So if you're looking for resources, I can give you the links and
Oh
everything.
yeah, definitely. We'll have
Yeah.
those in the description box
Yep.
below.
Yep.
So help everybody. Because again, we try to be informational and give people resources. And
Right.
so thank you for coming on the show. And actually, I think we'll get into it a little bit later. But you even became a volunteer, working with them.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
no, that's awesome.
So I thought, I mean, they literally like saved my life. Like,
Wow.
so what happened was I called this number that I found, and it was a support volunteer that was a psychologist or a counselor that just basically volunteers their time. They have a job. They have a lot going on. They have family, and for some reason, most of them have connections and or previous, mental health experiences that they wanted to give back and volunteer their time for this. And it's amazing. Like to
Great.
talk to somebody and for them to just calm you down, like it's just so like it's amazing what they can do and just making you feel like you're not crazy. Like you're like I just remember,
How
this
do they
is
say? I feel so seen. That's what they say.
yeah. And then they gave me, what I should do next. Like I think they told me to go to my gynecologist and talk to them. Which then they can subscribe some medication so that, I didn't want to have to go on medication. I don't think anybody wants to.
Yeah.
But in the long run now, I've tried it before. I tried it in high school and all that, but it's just finding that right balance. And it's not for everyone. It isn't. I'm not going to say go get medication.
Yeah,
But
it's not
for
one size
me,
fits all. Yeah.
right. For me, my life has just been better on it. It helps me to settle down and focus on like what I need to do without having those thoughts running through my head all the time.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it helped me to kind of like calm, it's like taking Tylenol, kind of to calm like a ache so that you can then focus on your job or whatever, so then focus on the next thing.
On the
So
football team, we took lots of ibuprofen before we got on that
yes,
field. Oh yes, we
yeah,
were numbed out. It was probably terrible for
yeah.
our kidneys.
Yeah, so for my mind, it needed to kind of calm that ache, that those thoughts in my mind in order to then be proactive in helping then go to see a counselor. Because if I went to see a counselor and my mind wasn't in it and I wasn't able to focus on, you know, the work to get better and like doing, the different things that they, told me to try and stuff, then you're not gonna get anywhere if you can't even be present there.
There you go. You're gonna get out of it what you put into it.
Right, right.
And I think our guest Rupert, he said, I think the first time he came on, he said, the therapist matters much less than the person getting therapy. Like,
Sure.
yeah. So
Right,
it makes a lot of sense about that person being, like you said, ready. So no, that's awesome. So that's your second child. After that, boom, you get in contact with PPMN, and so now, okay, you got these tools, you got these resources, you're working it. So now all of a sudden, baby number 3 is on the way. Now you must feel great. You're like, I got this now. I'm ready. You're not gonna catch me off guard this time.
Right. Yeah, it went a lot better with my mental health the third time. I'm not going to say it wasn't hard still, but I think knowing and having the resources and knowing what was happening and knowing how to deal with it and say, hey, to my husband, hey, I need an hour break. That was another thing I didn't do enough was self-care. I felt like I had to always be taking care of the baby. I felt like I always had to do everything. But no, there's another person that I had that, I could never accept help from because I just always, like with the anxiety, I always felt like, oh, let me do it. Oh, I have to do it. And it just, I don't know, that was just maybe my personal, who I was. But now it's just total opposite. It's like, yep.
Yep,
go take this.
Come on. Yep.
Yeah. I'm going out.
Mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Okay.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's another thing. It's like, yeah, they say, you need to put your, air mask on first, like on the plane.
Yeah, oxygen mask.
Oxygen mask, yeah, before helping others. And it's like, if I'm not happy and I'm, what kind of mom am I going to be? Like, and that was another thing is like teaching your kids that it's okay to not be okay sometimes and not putting on a mask, like not putting on a mask and pretending like you're super mom all the time. Letting your kids see you kind of down, even though you don't want them to see you that way and you want to protect them and shelter them. But I remember telling my, 3-year-old or my 2-year-old, like, mommy's just kind of sad right now, and it's okay for them to see you crying. It's, just explain to them, I'm just kind of feeling sad. And then they kind of rub your back and they don't want you to be sad.
Oh, I can imagine. Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, just having that little moment with them kind of brings it closer together too.
No, that's good. That's good communication, even at the young age. And I think what you said is so important. Let them know from early on it's okay to not be okay.
Right.
So they can, when they encounter stuff later on, again, they don't have to feel alone in it. Okay, mommy's there. She can't help me because why? You've been able to help yourself. If you help yourself, you can help others. As you said, mommy's got her oxygen mask on. So there you go. Right. No, that's great, man. It makes the kids feel confident. Yeah. So that's awesome. So, and again, one of the things I thought was really awesome when you reached out to me, you said it's, PPM is a place again that, saved your life, as you said, saved your marriage, all of that stuff. So when did you decide to, volunteer your time and, getting involved with them? Sure.
So they have, the Minnesota group has this, Daisy Dash, walk or run that they do every year, where you can go and sign up and register, and it's raising money for their organization. And I believe I signed up for that one year, and then I was like, this is so amazing. Like, it's just full of different people that have been through the same things I've been through, or, everybody in their different way. But I felt like there wasn't enough. I think I started my own Facebook group, but it was kind of filled with just like people that I knew that wanted to be a part of it, like supporting, postpartum moms and all that. And I just felt like there wasn't enough help out there. So I actually reached out to them and said, hey, like, would you ever think about doing a support group? Like, so you could, they had peer support helpers. So like you could be a partner, you could partner up with somebody that had been through similar experiences as you, and they would like talk to you every like month or something.
Gotcha.
But there wasn't really like a group that you could meet with every month or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So
Kind of like
me,
Alcoholics Anonymous or something like
yeah,
that. You know how there's literally
yeah,
a group, NA,
yeah.
Normal.
So I actually helped start. It's a free virtual support group, and you can find it on their website. And it's every Thursday at 7 o'clock, I believe. And there's more information on the website, but it started that group with them, and you can talk with, it's a rotation between different ladies that have been through different experiences. And you can go every week, you can go every other week, you can do whatever you want, however you're feeling. And you don't have to sign up. You don't have to,
Yeah, you could just show up.
Yeah, it's not, it's like, how sometimes I felt like it was so hard to wait for when you're so anxious, and to wait for your appointment with your counselor is just like such a long wait. It's like, I wish there was something sooner. So it's just a great way to connect. And I think the best part, the thing that helped me the most was just talking with other moms that have been through it, so that you don't feel like you're alone in it, and you don't feel
So important.
crazy.
No, it's so important. That's what Consider Your Mind is all about, creating community,
Right.
creating, hey, this is somebody
Right.
else that's going through this as well. And guess
Right.
what? They made it. They're still here. They're alive. They're pretty cool people, actually. You don't even have to sacrifice that, to
Right.
get your mind right, man. And again, that community part of it is so important. So I bet it was great to see that grow too. As
Right.
started off with just an idea. Next thing you know, ladies are clicking on it. Boop, boop.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it was great. It was great to help. I know I'm still in touch now with a few people that, I'd always give them my personal email, if you want to reach out to me anytime, like, here's my email.
Mhm.
And so I'm still like, I'm like Instagram friends with a few people that I met there, and like, they're doing great. And it's just so amazing to see, another success story and all that. So
That's great, man. So
yeah.
awesome. That's really inspiring, man. I'm glad we're look at us being mental health advocates out here.
Yeah, I know.
Who'd have thought that?
I mean,
There's not.
it must be that Brimhall education. I
There we
mean,
go. That Brimhall Badger mentality that they, I guess we got that desire to help people. I was a bus cop back in the
yeah,
day, right? Were you a bus cop or a peer mediator, any of that
sure
stuff?
was, but I wasn't very good at it. I
Yeah,
was a
me neither.
peer mediator, but I
Yeah.
feel like I remember that I had to get peer mediated while being a peer mediator.
There you go. For people that don't know, this was like the violence interventionists in elementary school. I guess they were trying to teach us,
Yeah,
responsibility. And so they had these things called peer mediators when there was and then when there was somebody had beef, when there was a fight or whatever.
yeah,
Instead of it would just be an adults handle it. They had this idea to bring somebody the exact same age, just as
yeah.
immature, and to try to help them, bring a third in there to help.
Yes,
So that was
yes.
us. So we've come a
I
long way
forget
since.
about that. That was interesting.
Yeah, man, you brought me back to the Brim Hall days, man.
Yes.
That's awesome, man. So thank you again so much for coming on the show. And I think this is so important because it's a subject, like you said, it can be very difficult when you're going, when you're being a new mom, when you're literally, the time is being taken up, and you can't necessarily, self-care is not top of mind.
Right.
When you're, literally have this, new life that's dependent on you for everything, even to stay alive, like to feed everything,
Right.
and the pressures of that. And I just want to salute, before we go any further, salute all the mamas out there. Shout out to my mother. Shout out to the mother of my son. Shout out to her mother. Everybody's, all the
Yeah.
mamas out there,
And
because it's not an easy thing.
I do want to point out also that it can be it can affect men as well. Like, it can affect
Okay.
they can have just as much anxiety about after birth as well. Um, or, you know, there's all different, you know, like when you lose a baby and all that. There's so many resources on this website for pretty much anything that you're going through. So
Great. That's
yeah.
good to hear, man. Great to
Yeah.
hear, man. So fellas too, you guys check it out. This isn't just for the ladies, fellas.
Mhm.
You know, definitely check out you know, if they have any resources, because again, anxiety. And I tell people I turned into every other parent, just like again, right when my son was about to be born, there was weeks leading up to it. So all of a sudden you have all these worries and it just all comes out, oh, I just hope he's healthy. Lord, just let him be
Mhm.
healthy. Just you know, we're all reduced, you know, down to that. And so you're not alone in that. Because it is a beautiful thing. Being a parent is a beautiful thing, you know, being part of, you know, giving life in this world. It's great. But those babies don't come with any instructions. And
No.
how you're gonna change, you know, doesn't, you're not ready for that either. You know, looking again, I guess we'll wrap up on this. You know, as we grow up in life and events happen to us and, you know, we sign up for certain things, we become, you know, husbands and wives, become mothers and fathers, you know, even for our older family, and, you know, become caretakers as we become more responsible. You know, it requires us to have more tools. It requires us to, you know, it takes up more energy, but it requires a lot more skills. And we should never be afraid to think that, you know what, I can't handle this. I don't have the skills, you know, right now. You don't have them right now, but those are things you can develop over time.
Last thing I will leave with, and I've said this before in here, but it's okay to not be okay some days. Don't feel like you're a superhero every day. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great, man. You don't have to be a
Yeah.
superhero. You're not getting paid by the MCU people. All right. Leave that to, you
No.
know, we don't leave that to the professionals, man. So, uh, so no, thank you so much for coming on. And again, we'll leave the link to the resources in the description box below, however you're listening. And again, go support that, you know, very worthy cause. Postpartum Minnesota, a part of Postpartum, you know, International. For the ladies and the fellas, you know, who are going through any, you know, stuff like that, you know, definitely take a look at it. I am going to, because again, I'm still a new father. I may have some effects I don't even really know about. That whole being a new parent thing, the whole being a parent period, the anxiety and the worries around that stuff, you know, definitely don't be afraid to reach out to anybody about that. And I'm glad we could use this platform to be a resource, you know, for that as well, man. So,
Yeah.
um, so thanks again, Emily. Thank you so much
Well,
for coming on. Hey man, hopefully maybe we can have you back again.
yeah.
You know, who knows, man, you might mess around and start a podcast, you
Yeah.
know, the postpartum
Right.
podcast. You know, I just want a
Yeah.
little naming credit if you take that.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It was so good to talk to you and see you again.
Yeah, man. Great to reconnect. Absolutely. We'll have
Yeah.
to stay in touch, man. You know, we won't have to wait, what is it, 16 years next time we
Yeah.
talk. We'll definitely
Right.
do better than that. So, all
Right.
right. So thank you all for joining us for another episode of the Consider Your Mind podcast. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us and we do appreciate that. We hope you, you know, learn something. You know, we try to entertain you a little bit, but I hope you really learned something from this episode, the great information that she gave out. So please join us again next week. And until next time,